Miss Rowe here. I'm hoping all of you had an amazing week, and thank you again to the people that either sent me a photo or a video of their artwork. If you haven't, I would still love to get them, even if it's from a past week, even if for some reason you didn't get to the second week and now you want to send it to me. Anything that you want to send would be greatly appreciated. So moving on, today what we're going to be learning about is a marker print. So basically, it's where you can take markers, just washable markers, and some water, and then a plastic bag, and you're able to kind of create these really cool prints with them. So again, in some of them, you'll see that there isn't any Sharpie or any extra added elements, whereas in some there is a little bit of Sharpie drawing that I did. So, but to learn how to basically apply a lot of this color here, I'm going to be showing you how to do that. And it's a really, really easy process. And I think it's really fun. Once I started doing it, I just couldn't stop. I just ended up making several of them. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and I hope you think it's fun too. And again, I would love to see whatever you make, so please send it my way. Okay, moving on to the video. So in terms of the things that you're going to need, a spray bottle filled with water would be best. If you don't have a spray bottle, a little cup of water is fine, but try to find a spray bottle if you can. Also a plastic bag. I have a quart size one here, but if you have a bigger or smaller one, that's also fine. You're also going to need some paper towels. Put that off to the side. And you're going to want to get some markers, some washable markers. So basically just not Sharpies, really. And also some paper. The thicker the paper would work a little bit better because this project's going to be a little bit wet, so computer paper sometimes doesn't hold up as well, but use whatever you have available. And if you want to cut down your paper, maybe because you have a smaller bag, then getting some scissors wouldn't be bad either. Also, if you want to, this is optional, you can grab an actual Sharpie. So again, not a black marker, but a Sharpie if you want to add some extra designs. So first you're going to want to start with your bag and your markers. So try to make your bag as flat as possible. Basically how it's going to work is that we're going to draw a design on the bag with markers, and then we're going to add some water and press the paper down to make a print. That's just it summarized. So again, grab your markers, pick whatever colors that you want. I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of a quick one just to basically show you what you could do. And again, you don't have to press with the markers very hard, just press like you would normally because you're still getting a lot of the ink from the markers onto the plastic bag. I also suggest alternating marker colors too, just because it kind of makes for a more interesting print instead of using just one color. So when you're happy with your marker design, grab your spray bottle or some water, and you're going to want to go ahead and spritz it down. So I have to take my cap off really quick, sorry. So again, spritz down, not a lot of water. You only need a little bit of water. I'm going to show you what happens if you add too much water, which could be something that you might like because depending on how much water you add, you get a different effect. Basically, add the water you want, slowly put your paper down. Use one hand to hold the paper in place and then press with the other hand. You can either press and tap lightly, or you can try to smoosh the color around. So this is what it looks like when I added a lot of water and I smooshed it around. It's kind of a cool effect, sort of like watercolors a little bit. So if you like that, then just, you can do the same process that I did just now. When you're done, take your paper towel and just wipe off your bag. Try to make sure you wipe the area just in case you got some extra water around there. And it should wipe off all of the marker color too. So it's basically like you're starting fresh now. Or make sure that when you're done with your paper, you put it somewhere flat so it can dry. Okay, so now that I've shown you the process of how this works, I'm going to show you a few pieces that I already did ahead of time that have already dried. And this is just showing you the difference between how much water you're adding and how your paper will look. So the one I just put down, I added a lot of water. This one I added a pretty decent amount of water, but I didn't press the color all around. So I added a medium amount of water. The next one I added just a little bit of water. Again, you could see some smearing, but you can still kind of see the marker marks that I had made. And then the last one is with very, very little water. You can still very clearly see all of the marker marks on there. So again, it just depends on the effect that you want. And that's what you should think about when you're adding water to your piece. So here I'm going to show you the difference between smooshing the color around and just patting. So this is smooshing, where you're keeping your hand on it the whole time and you're just pressing it down and moving your hand around. To get one that's like this or this one, then you want to be tapping down for your print. So again, you put your marker design on there, add a little bit of water, and then you just press. So again, I'm not like smooshing my hand all over the place. I'm just pressing with some pressure, and then again, I'm lightly taking it off very carefully, just like that. And again, sometimes mixing a little bit of smooshing and a little bit of just tapping is kind of nice too, but it just depends. You can try it out and see which one you like better. So when you're doing your design, there's a few different things you can think about. You can consider basically just adding a ton of color and making it look just kind of like a color explosion, or you could try actually drawing a picture with it. I wouldn't suggest drawing a very complicated picture at first, especially when you're just starting out, because you want to get used to the process before you take a lot of time to draw a really nice picture on there. But again, I'm just going to go ahead and show you what your print could look like if you decide that you want to try drawing something more realistic that isn't just a ton of different colors pressed together. So here's my picture. Did a nice little house with some grass and a sun and some sky. So now again, there's two options you could do. You could do what I did before, which is where you add water to the plastic bag, or you could actually spritz some water on the paper. And again, you can see that's a lot of water. And then you can just take a clean paper towel and just go ahead and dab some of that water off. So it's a little bit damp paper, but it's not drenched. So again, you could do either one. You can experiment with which way that you like better. But again, if you do make it damp, just lightly press down. And so since I want to make sure that you can see most of the design, I'm trying to do a little bit of tapping. I'm just lightly taking my hand up, but I do want to smoosh it around a little bit just to make some of the colors blend a bit. So again, I lightly take it off, and then huzzah! So again, you can see that some of the colors are smushed around, but you can still see the outline of the house, which is kind of nice. So go ahead, get your paper towel, wipe off your plastic bag, and you can start doing another design. Do you guys remember when I brought up that Sharpie earlier, basically a permanent marker? Well, here are some examples of how you can actually use the Sharpie and mix it with some of this cool marker print. So you have two options that you could do. Your first option is that you could go ahead and draw your design on the paper first before you actually put any marker prints on there. And then the second thing that you could do is that you could take a print that has dried and you can draw a design on there afterwards using your Sharpie. But again, it really just depends on what kind of effect you want. It's kind of fun to do both. But I'll go ahead and show you just an example of how I could draw a design on and then go ahead and add some color to it afterwards. So go ahead and get your paper out. And again, I'm using half sheets because my plastic bag isn't very big. So grab your Sharpie, and if you want, you could do it in pencil first, but I'm just going to go ahead and do one in Sharpie. So I'm going to do a little bit of a starry sky. So I drew a little moon, a crescent moon. I'm going to add some stars. I'm going to add some clouds, just get it going. When you're happy with your design, go ahead and move your paper over to the side and then grab your plastic bag. So depending on what you want, you could always just put a bunch of different colors that you like on there and then not really worry about what color will go on what part of your design. But if you want to try something a little bit more complicated, you can turn your paper over to where you can still kind of see where the different parts of your drawing are. And then you can try coloring in the area where you think that part of your drawing will be. So for example, I tried to see where the moon was. And so once I kind of got an idea of the placement, I used the yellow marker and I started coloring in just that whole general area of where I think the moon will go. And so now I'm coloring in the sky as well. And I also had a few clouds in there. So I'm thinking about where I could add some more color and where I could put the clouds. Once your design is done, just go ahead and double check and make sure that, you don't need to add a little bit more color anywhere. And just because you'd rather have a little bit more color than less color. That's why I said to color in that whole general area of where you think that will be. So when you're ready, I decided that I'm going to add water to my paper, and then I'm going to go ahead again with the clean part of the paper towel, dab some of the water off. Oops, flipped it over. Again, we're going to make sure that it's not wet there. And then I'm going to slowly try to figure out where the placement is. And when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to go ahead and press down. And so I'm just kind of patting and then also smooshing just a little bit. So after I've pressed for a little while, I'm going to go ahead and slowly peel it back and to reveal my design. So again, part of this process is that it's really fun just to see how some of them start turning out. So that one's pretty cool. So again, I'm going to go ahead and wipe off all that marker, and I'm going to put mine to the side so it can dry flat. So on this next one I'm going to show you is how you can take a already dried print that you did, and again, I repeat, it needs to be dry, and how you can take Sharpie and add a design on top of that. So instead of doing Sharpie first, you could do the Sharpie afterwards. Again, I'm looking at, what colors I have in there, and I'm thinking that it'd be kind of cool to do a sun. So I decided to take my time and to just go ahead and draw that on there. So after I'm done, I decided that it'd be kind of fun to take the yellow marker and fill in some of that area. So another cool idea is that you can always, again, you don't even have to use a Sharpie. You could even just use regular markers and add a funky design on top of that, which, you can make some of the colors pop more by putting the same color on top of it, or you could even try mixing some of the colors by layering different colors on top of each other. The possibilities are endless, which is why this is such a fun project. So again, like I said, don't be afraid to experiment and see what you can come up with. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed the video. I hope you also really enjoy the process. I would absolutely love to see what you guys could come up with. Again, you can tell me your best ones, your worst ones, whatever you want to do. I just want to hear from you. So please send me an email with some photos and let me know how it went. Okay, talk to you next week.